Hi, I'm Chris. This is Reality Shadow Band. I got a tech support call in for this thing, but they're not getting back to me yet, so I'll update you later. Today we're going to be responding to um, this video about the what you don't know. Medicine is being wrecked by DEI, and I'm going to pronounce it DEI. I'm not going to do the acronym. I'm just going to call it DEI because actually a lot of people are going to get hurt. I don't know if you've seen this already. I'm sure you have. The fact that Media Matters is covering this tell you that they're holy shit. We have to, and they're like one of the top searches. It's really funny. But yeah, so the mid after a Boeing passenger jet lost a door mid-flight, right wing media rushed to blame the failure of the die. I don't really care who's reporting this, but the fact that this is a thing right now um is she's gonna get into it a little bit, and we're gonna listen to Colonel Kurtz. Go give her a like and subscribe, and fair use by the way. And let's get into it.
It's really scary. So if you're scared, thinking next time you get on a plane that your pilot might not, in fact, have been chosen or recruited or hired because he or she was best for the job, but because they fit a particular demographic bracket, if that freaks you out, wait till you find out what's going on in medicine. And I just invite you, any of you who are in the medical profession at any level, I invite you to tell us all the truth. And I hope that you will fill up the comments below with your perspectives. Well, it's an interesting conversation that people have been.
Yeah, I'll leave a link. I'll leave a link to her video here. And I come from a medical family. Both my stepdad and my mom were both. My mom was a registered nurse, and my stepdad was in medical stuff, and he did was a medic of some sort. I'm not exactly sure what, but he was also medical. So I heard a lot of this stuff growing up, and people in medicine are pretty courageous because they're dealing with a lot of stuff that's like really fucked up, honestly. And I picked up some things from her about how things are handled, and this is all really bad. What Colonel Kurtz here is talking about is really bad.
Been having the last week. Elon Musk has been duking it out with Mark Cuban on X, in fact, about this. It's an interesting conversation people are having about DEI and hiring preferences, racial and gender hiring preferences and recruitment preferences in our airlines and the possible danger that could pose to people's safety, people who travel, people who fly. Well, that is a great conversation to be having, but wait till you learn what's been going on in the medical field. And there's an excellent book that came out several years ago called The Diversity Delusion by Heather McDonald, who is an incredible scholar, and a number of you probably know her work. And there were, and what this did before it was fashionable to diss DEI and to criticize it, what this did is it basically
It's fashionable now. I don't know. I thought it was always a bad idea. I thought hiring on these quota stuff is just very anti-American, very anti-egalitarian. And when you start to do special classes of people, there's only one way that can go, and it's intended to fracture fracture the society to create easily managed factions that are can be controlled through fake democratic processes.
explored DEI and dismantled it and showed how DEI was negatively affecting different sectors of our society and different professions. And so she spent a great deal of time in this book. I recommend you get it. She spent a great deal of time in this book talking about the effects of DEI in hiring and admissions, how these things are affecting medicine. And it's scary, y'all. It's really scary. So if you're scared, thinking next time you get on a plane that your pilot might not, in fact, have been chosen.
I think some of the proof of this was this last little Roni thing that happened. It seems to be ongoing and never really stopped. Never really no major. There was no parades or announcements or victory or anything like that. I mean, it was just kind of just like stop talking about it. Ukraine. Yeah, so that was like a test run because I think, because so many so-called doctors didn't push back about any of this stuff, and the ones that did were shut down, and everyone was like, okay, dude.
Or recruited or hired because he or she was best for the job. But
I live here in Mexico, and they don't have any of this stuff happening. You still have to actually work really hard to get into medical school here, and you do actually have to know what you're talking about. And they will get rid of you if you don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, there's other places in the world that aren't experiencing this and won't experience it, and aren't going through it. So just be aware of that.
because they fit a particular demographic bracket, if that freaks you out, wait till you find out what's going on in medicine. Because except for those of us who are immortal, most of us have to rely on doctors, physicians, hospitals, systems, drugs at some point in our lives, yes? And it is very scary. So look, there's an article that you should read when you finish here. Okay, it's called Corruption of Medicine. It's by Heather McDonald. It came out in the summer of 2022. So this is still very recent stuff. And she talked about different ways, shocking ways, that medicine is being corrupted by DEI ideology, DEI initiatives, and DEI preferences in medical school admissions, in promotion, etc.
Yeah, promotion. Yeah, these people pushing these drugs, these salespeople. How is that legal?
So this is what she says. All right, she sums it up this way. Before I get into some specifics, she says that
I know it's America and everything, but when my parents were going through that, that wasn't really a thing, and this whole profit motive thing that got turned over in the 70s when hospitals were supposed to turn profit and became privatized, and it's got the good and bad, I guess.
DEI now has changed the direction of medical research. It has changed the composition of medical school faculty and the composition of students admitted to medical school. It has changed the curriculum at medical school. It has changed the criteria for hiring researchers and publishing research. She says it has changed the standards of measuring performance. It has basically brought about a wave of mandatory advocacy training for physicians who are now expected to, in the words of a strategic plan by the American Medical Association, expected to, quote, dismantle white supremacy and other forms of inequality.
So I guess that's the reason why the Harvard professor lady could cheat and everything. And everybody's like, okay, it's fine. This is the whole system now. Oof. This is our brightest and best, and they're all doing this. Like, oof. Man, this is gonna end really poorly.
So,
Or it is ending poorly.
some of the ways in which DEI ideology has affected medicine? Well, let's just talk about, for instance, methods of measuring knowledge, skills, performance. So, at all levels of the medical experience and in the profession, if you want to enter into the profession, you have to take various tests. And so, for medical school admission, generally speaking, although we'll get into this in a moment, it's being devalued, but the MCAT. And then there's a series of tests as you're going through the medical school process, and then there's a test to determine residency. Apparently, Heather McDonald calls it the step one test, and so forth. And so, basically, what's happening with a number of these is that they are being de-emphasized. So, for example, the MCAT. Now, there are a lot of medical schools that are de-emphasizing the MCAT in importance for admissions or waiving it altogether in an effort to get more of certain minorities, not Asians, but blacks and Latinos, into medical school. And so the MCAT has been de-emphasized or completely waived for many medical schools.
So this is the kind of stuff that actually creates racism, by the way. These kinds of fake efforts when people figure out what's going on. Do you think those people are gonna want a black or a Hispanic doctor when they find out this is actually how these people got through? Are you kidding me? This is just way more ways to divide the country, so people in power can stay in power while the power is slipping through their hands, and it's so sad that we're all gonna be victims of this crap. Well, people that stick around the United States for it. If there's all places you can leave that are not doing this.
Also, I didn't realize this, even before these recent measures to de-emphasize the MCAT was already being evaluated by numerous teams of people every year, every time it comes out, to purge it of any kind of racial bias. And so, and I didn't know this either, but apparently you have sample test takers who will take the MCAT before it's released, and then any questions that white students do proportionately better on than black students, those are automatically purged, automatically from the MCAT. So this was stuff that was already going on, but now what you have as of late, as of the last several years, as with a lot of standardized tests, right, is this move to de-emphasize them.
That is so sick and sad, and we're gonna totally take it in the ass for that shit.
Or to waive them altogether. The problem with that, of course, is that standardized tests are one of the few ways of objectively measuring knowledge across the board. And it's not just the MCAT. There's a test to determine residency, or to help determine residency, apparently. Residency in the process, it's a part of the process of becoming a doctor. And apparently, this test, it's called the Step 1 test. It has now been changed as of 2022. It has been changed to a pass-fail test. Once again, they're trying to de-emphasize it, and also they're trying to make the scores that people get on these tests much less meaningful by changing it to just a pass-fail system. Again, do you feel good about going to a doctor or getting surgery by the hand of a doctor who has not gotten there based on merit, but instead because things were dumbed down or made easier, or because they check a certain box? If you look at medical school admissions, it is undeniable. It is undeniable. If you look at the stats on admissions, and Heather McDonald gets into this, but it is undeniable that students from certain demographic groups get a tremendous, tremendous preference in admissions. That doesn't mean that across the board, everyone from one demographic is less deserving. But here's the problem, is that when you set conditions where we don't know if someone got the position that they got or was admitted because of their real merit or their race or their gender, right? I mean, if we don't know that, then unfortunately it actually reinforces racist assumptions. And
yeah, that's the obvious thing. Okay, she said what I said already, which is crazy that she said it right after I said it. Yeah, it's pretty obvious what this is all for, and I just want to make you aware it's possible to skip it. This is Reality Shadow Band.